Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Vert. We are back after a very long break. We went and played some other games, but we're back on video and we're back on the Maehwa. A lot of people have been asking for just a quick short guide on PVE. So today we're going to do that. We're going to go over the add-ons. We're going to go over some pretty basic combos. And then to finish it off, we'll do a little bit more of an advanced combo. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me while I've been gone. Let's get back on the YouTube grind. Let's get it.
Light it up.
All right, guys, to kick off the video, we're going to go over the PvE add-ons here, starting at the top with Red Moon. On Red Moon, I have the monster damage and the attack speed. Typically, you want a pre-buff with Red Moon as it also gives you the 20-second 20 DP buff. It'll help you stay alive and stay tanky against the harder hitting mobs in the game. Next, we have Pedal Drill. Pedal Drill already has the DP shred on it of -20, but you can also stack it with the skill add-on effect of -15 for a total of 35. Then I also put crit hit damage on this. With your pre-buffs, you are going to be critting a lot, so that extra 3% goes a long way. Moving on Petal Bloom. Petal Bloom is going to be a T3, so I decided to put another monster AP add-on here, as well as an attack and cast speed add-on. That's going to help you. Let's say you're halfway through a pack, they're still not dead. You can reactivate your monster damage using Petal Bloom, or if you're at a lower end grind spot, you can just use Petal Bloom to one-shot a pack, and then you'll have that 30 monster damage for the next 7 seconds. Up next, we have Ice Fang. Ice Fang is going to have our crit on it, and we also have crit on Frostfang, and I'm going to show you guys why I have 2 different crit add-ons just in a second. And then again, on both of those, we have the attack and cast speed, because between Oppression and Pedal Drill, you already have your enough DP shred. You have plenty of monster damage from other abilities, so the only thing really left to throw in there would be the attack and cast speed, just because Maehwa does excel so well with it, allowing you to combo much faster. Moving on to the last skill, we have Frost Flower here. Frost Flower is a great skill just because it's going to give you the 20 AP for 10 seconds. And on top of that, I just added an accuracy buff with an evasion shred, just to stack on top of what you already have in the kit. It goes a little extra distance at higher end grind spots, such as Ash Forest and Calpheon Elvia. Alright guys, we're going to start off this portion of the video talking about pre-buffing. The most important pre-buffs for Maehwa are going to be Frost Flower with the AP, but then also stacking your crit rate. In order to stack your crit rate, you can use 3 different abilities. You can use Blind Thrust, you can use Maehwa's Will, and you can also use Frost Pillar. So that's going to be the crit that's built into your kit. And then you're going to want to stack those with one of the 2 skills that we put the crit add-on on, which is either going to be Ice Fang or Stigma or Frostfang, whichever you want to call it. So essentially what I do to pre-buff into a pack is I'm going to use Maehwa's Will, which puts you into pre-awakening. Then I'm going to swap back into awakening with Sleet Step, and then we're going to go straight into Frostfang. So that's going to give us the double crit buff as well as some other add-ons. Right there you can see it, double crit. We have our attack speed from Sleet Steps, and then we also have our attack speed that's on our add-on for Frostfang. Very nice way to start off a pack. Alright, moving on to the next pre-buff. We just talked about this slightly, but the attack speed recently got moved on to Sleet Steps. It used to be on this skill right here, but it is now on Sleet. So you're just going to dash to the side, quick little Sleet Step, and it's going to give you the 10% attack speed for 10 seconds. Now the cooldown, I believe, is about 7 seconds. So if you're paying attention while you're grinding, you should be able to keep the attack speed buff up at all times. And like I touched on earlier, Maehwa excels extremely well when it comes to attack speed and attack speed buffs. Okay, next up we're going to talk about Frost Flower. Frost Flower is just going to be SE, and you can use this for the AP buff. I also put the add-on of accuracy buff and evasion debuff on it, so that's just going to look like this. You get the accuracy and the 20 AP. 20 AP is absolutely huge. Frost Flower, again, relatively low cooldown of 5 seconds. You'll be able to keep the AP buff up the entire time. All right, the next pre-buff we're going to talk about, you don't necessarily need to do it before the pack. This can be used early in your combo while you're actually comboing the mobs, but it's going to be Sticky Snowflake, or Petals Swirl, I think is what they renamed it. And that's going to give you the 15% accuracy buff. Now, this buff is so incredibly important in higher end grinding. Right now, I'm actually grinding Ash Forest, and without that buff, I'm getting misses left and right. As soon as I activate that buff, I don't have a single miss, and my damage is increased greatly. So making sure you have Sticky Snowflake accuracy buff up at all times is going to be absolutely massive. All right, guys, the last pre-buffs we're going to talk about are the DP increases. Now, the best way to get these, in my opinion, are either just simply blocking. It's going to give you a 10-second 20 DP buff, or you can red moon. Now, red mooning or blue mooning, whatever you want to call it now, gives you the best DP buff in terms of duration. It's going to give you 20 seconds of 20 DP. You should almost always have this up no matter what at every grind spot you're at, because, you know, red moon is only on a 7-second cooldown and the buff is lasting 20 seconds. So if this buff is falling off, you're doing something wrong. So again, you can either get it from red moon or just as simple as blocking. Red moon is going to overwrite the other one though, because it is the longer duration. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about debuffing the mobs themselves. Now, there's a couple different ways to go about this. One of the most popular is just starting with oppression. Oppression is going to be a huge AoE. It's used to pull in PVE, and you could just stand in the middle of mobs and just activate it off hotbar. As you can see, that hit all 3 mobs here. Again, very useful for pulling, and that's going to give you a minus 30 DP debuff to start the pack. Now, after using oppression or using another skill to pull the mobs in, you can also follow with Petal Drill. Petal Drill is great because, again, we put the DP debuff add-on on it. So if we hit the mob right here, you're going to see it gets not 1 but 2 DP debuffs for a total of minus 35. As you can see, once again here, we have the minus 20 DP for 10 seconds, plus the minus 15 on the skill add-on, again, for the total of minus 35 DP. This is a little more useful once the mobs are grouped up, as you'll be able to shred the entire pack. All right, guys, the last debuffing we're going to talk about is our evasion shred. Recently, we got 9% added to Moonrise, so that's going to look as simple as something like that. You can see right there. Now, we also put a minus evasion add-on on our Frost Flower. So if you Frost Flower into the Moonrise, you're going to get the double evasion debuff. That's going to be minus 12% evasion. On top of the Sticky Snowflake giving you 15%, there's rarely a time you're going to be missing if you're buffing properly. All right, next up, we're going to talk about sustain a little bit. Sometimes players have troubles keeping their HP up or their WP up while grinding. So quick skills I'm just going to cover to help you stay alive while grinding. Cloud Stab is going to be your biggest one. We're talking 8-second cooldown, 100 HP per hit in terms of recovery. Very, very, very strong. If you use the BSR with it, you're going to get a bonus 3 attacks, which is going to increase the heal that much more. Now, in terms of just constant grinding and kind of topping off your HP, of course, make sure you're using Frost Pillar as well as Tip of the Iceberg. It's going to give HP back on both of those. Tenacious Edge gives HP and WP, but it's not super strong in terms of PvE damage, so I'm not using it often, but it is another option. Now, in your skill enhancement, Maehwa's Will is going to give you a nice 450 HP back. Basically a little whale pot. It's pretty nice. And then in your main hand, if you need another burst heal, you can use Absolute Nemesis, which is going to recover 50 HP per hit. The skill is a little weird to use in PvE, and I typically only use it when I'm pre-buffing with something like Blind Thrust, because you can use Blind Thrust into Nemesis and get that HP back. But mostly, I would recommend Cloud Stab as the biggest one, and Frost Pillars and Tip. All right, guys, to keep your WP up, it's pretty simple. Maehwa's Will is going to be your best friend here. 200 WP, 12-second cooldown, very short animation, and can be used in Awakening. As far as your skills go, just make sure you're landing your Ice Fangs and your Frost Feints. You already have skill add-ons on these, so it's important to hit them in the first place, but they also give back WP. So make sure you're using those as well as your pre-awakened Maehwa's Will. All right, guys, before we get into comboing, I just want to talk about what I have on my hotbar and what skill cooldowns you should have on your screen. These, I believe, are the most important right here. I have oppression on hotbar. I have red moon on hotbar. Now, you don't necessarily need this anymore. This is just an old habit. But if you don't want to do this, shift queuing is very, very straightforward and simple. Then I have Petal Drill, Ice Fang, Sticky Snowflake, or Petal Swirl. We got Frost Pillars, Moonrise, Frost Flower, Petal Bloom, Frost Faint, and Sleet Steps. These cooldowns are all very important to keep track of while grinding, and also for PvP if you want to use these as well. If you look at my hotbar down here, these two are typically just for PvP. I use General's Might off hotbar just because sometimes when I'm hitting Shift E for Maehwa's Will, I accidentally activate my E buff when I don't want it. So you can lock it and put it on a hotbar if you want to. And then I have Tiger Blade, which again is for PvP. All right, guys, it's time to grind, time to use our abilities, and time to head out. So how I typically start packs or pull packs, there's a couple different ways. Of course, we talked about it a little bit ago. Oppression right here, massive AoE. It's going to pull everything around you. Super, super nice. If you need to pull more mobs, you have things like Sticky Snowflake or Petal Swirl. Good AoE. It's spammable if you want to spam it. You also have Red Moon. It has a decent AoE. Typically, I don't use that for pulling, but it is an option. And then if you want to get fancy with the Pre-Awakening, sometimes I pull with the Cyclone Bomb, and even Stub Arrows when you have a mob that's really far away. After you have the mobs grouped up, just remember you're pre-buffing, right? We're going to get the crit rate going, the attack speed, the DP shred. Make sure you at all times are getting to the back if you can. It's going to add that much more damage. And Maehwa's very quick with going back and forth using Chase or Stigma. You'll be able to get to your opponent's back or the mob's back extremely easy with this class. So always be aiming for those back attacks. Now, in this guide, I'm not really going to cover too much about pack-to-pack grinding like Polly's Forest or Centaurs. If you're one-shot mobs, you're one-shot mobs. There's not a whole lot that goes into it. You know, you're just hopping around, rotating abilities. Make sure not to spam abilities. Use the ones that are off cooldown. It'll make the grind much faster, much easier, and not a lot of thought is needed when doing this. Alright guys, now we're going to talk about what I do at the start of a pack when the mobs are a bit tankier. It's going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be Oppression to pull, Maehwa's Will into Sleet Steps, into Frost Faint, into Frost Flower. So what that's going to look like is this right here. Simple as that. It's going to be 5 abilities. And if you see the buff bar here, you got AP, attack speed, double crit, double attack speed actually. And that's going to set you up to a bunch of different abilities, but I'm about to show you how I prefer to chain them together. All right, guys, here's the extended combo. You could see it right here on the screen. It might seem like a lot at first and be a bit overwhelming, but I promise you, once you get this down, it's going to be so smooth. It's going to feel nice. Now, again, this combo might not be the best, but after hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of grinding, this is what I've found works for me and flows really nicely. So it's going to start with Oppression into Maehwa's Will, Sleet Steps, Frost Faint, Frost Flower, Ice Fang, Petal Swirl, Blue Moon, Moonrise, Frost Pillar, Tip of the Iceberg, Petal Bloom, Moonlight Dash, and finishing it with Petal Drill. So let's do it.
Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah.
Okay guys, so there's the full combo. There's a couple tricks here that you need to make sure you know before you start really practicing this combo. One, with the addition of Blue Moon, you need to make sure the entire animation finishes before you go into the next skill, or else you're just canceling damage out from yourself. So the full animation looks like that. You want to wait for the slam on the ground before you go into Moonrise, which is going to be the next ability. That goes for anything. If you cancel it too early, you're not going to get that last hit of damage on Red Moon. The other little trick here that you might have some issues with at first is getting Petal Drill out of Petal Bloom. And you just need to make sure after Moonlight Dash you just hold Shift LMB. So that's going to look like this right there. And now typically the reason I end with pedal drill, a lot of people typically engage or start a combo with pedal drill, and that's fine. You can do that because it'll debuff the mobs. But when I'm fighting tankier mobs, I like to say pedal drill for the end because then I re-DP debuff them before I go into my full rotation again. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our Maehwa guide. This is our first guide after the rework. I've been playing it for about 3 weeks to a month now, so I'm a little bit rusty on it still, but I feel comfortable enough to make a guide for you guys today. Of course, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section or swing by the stream, twitch.tv/Vert. I'm live 5 days a week, sometimes 6. Come say what's up. Feel free to shoot your questions in chat and just come hang out. I appreciate you guys once again supporting the YouTube after such a long break. It's been my pleasure. I hope you guys learned a lot. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on your way out. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.